I've been binging a Hulu these past couple of days. It has one of my favorite shows on it called Hey Arnold. I used to watch that show as a kid, and now that I'm older, I realized that I've missed out on all the adult themes the show was hinting at me when I was younger. Since there was going to be a full film called The Jungle Movie in late 2017, I figured I'd watch the whole thing to catch up on nostalgia. But there were some creepy episodes that I remembered that gave me nightmares. Since Halloween is coming up, I figured why the heck not? This is my top 5 creepiest Hey Arnold episodes. Number 5. Haunted Train. Arnold, Phil, and Gerald are sitting outside eating some ice cream. Phil sees a train passing by, so he decides to tell Arnold and Gerald a urban legend about Engine 25. He gets into detail about how the engineer went mad while driving the train off the train tracks. The terrible stench of the inside of the train would drive anyone mad, and the train was heading to the fiery pits of hell. Phil noted to Arnold and Gerald that tonight was the anniversary of Engine 25. So Arnold and Gerald decided to go to the station at night to see if the legend was true. Then Helga shows up and tags along as well. They arrive at the train station and they waited until the train finally came. To their surprise, Engine 25 opens its doors and they all went inside. They started freaking out, and everything from Phil's story started to come true until the engineer opened the door and turned out to be just a typical engineer. And he told the kids that the train was only reserved for the steel mill workers. But the scary part was that the ghost of the mad engineer was sitting in front of the Engine 25 all this time, and the legend was in fact actually true. Number 4. Phoebe Cheats. Now this episode really freaked me out, not just for the scare factor, but for the fact that it's actually true. If you do something terribly wrong, your guilty conscience comes into play, and it can haunt you, possibly forever. Classmates in grade 4 of PS 118 are receiving awards for their achievements in their academic studies. To Phoebe's surprise, she did not win any awards at all. So Mr. Simmons announces that they will be having a poetry contest, and the first prize winner will win an Emily Dickinson trophy. Phoebe is already dedicated to win, so she goes home and starts to write some poetry. But to her surprise, she's no good. So she plagiarizes a poetry from a poem book and pretends it's her own in class. Mr. Simmons reads the poem and loves it. Phoebe wins the trophy. Coming home, she feels a sense of regret. She knows she did something wrong. Suddenly, the trophy starts talking back to her and calling her a cheater. So Phoebe breaks the trophy, and the next day she buries it. Surprisingly, Arnold and Gerald finds it in the playground and gives it back to her parents. Phoebe comes back home to see that the trophy is still there, and she panics. The trophy makes her realize that she needs to correct her mistakes, and Phoebe understands. With sadness, Phoebe confronts Mr. Simmons alongside her parents. Then she tells him what she has done. The episode is not scary as you may think, but the fact that she's talking back to a trophy shows you how delusional she was getting about the fact she cheated. A guilty conscience can make you feel haunted for a long time if you don't undo the wrong. Number 3. Headless Cabbie. Arnold and the gang are having a sleepover. Everyone is saying scary stories, but nobody is scared. So Arnold jumps in and starts talking about the Headless Cabbie myth. The story starts off by showing an ordinary cabbie riding his horse in the late hours of the night. He is then approached by a woman. She comes on for a ride. She tells him she is looking for her dog that she lost. While she and the cabbie go into the park, she offers him a red scarf because it was getting cold. She then hears her dog in the distance and asks the cabbie to go faster and faster. The faster the cabbie went, the more chaotic she was becoming. The red scarf was tangled on a nearby tree and rips the cabbie's head off. The woman starts laughing in a horrible way, and the cabbie is now headless. Going back to Arnold's room, everyone is filled with excitement, except for Harold. So the gang decides to go to the park to get some ice cream, which is like the dumbest idea ever. They reach the park and they start seeing things. They see a dog in the distance, they see the red scarf, they start putting 2 and 2 together, and they figured out that maybe the Headless Cabbie is probably alive. The gang starts hearing noises, but it's just Eugene. Then this happens. From a distance, they see the Headless Cabbie and the freaky lady, but it's just Ernie and Mr. Wayne. Then holy freaking crap, it's actually her. She gives Ernie the red scarf and laughs. Don't go into the park at night, kids. Number 2. Monkey Business. Holy freaking crap, this episode definitely did a number on me, and I'll show you why in a moment. Starting off this episode, Mr. Simmons is conducting a lesson about the debunked medical theories that scientists used to come up with in the past. One of those theories were called monkey nucleosis. Monkey nucleosis is basically a theory that if a monkey comes into contact with you, you go into the 5 stages of monkey nucleosis. itching and puffiness, sweaty palms, loss of appetite, irritability, and death. Helga starts to talk to Phoebe about it, and she thinks it's insane that something like that could even be thought about. Helga then goes into a park, and there is a dancing monkey. The monkey comes into contact with Helga and kisses Helga on the arm. Helga goes home and then starts having itching and puffiness. She goes to the library and starts learning about monkey nucleosis. Then she has sweaty palms and drops the book. She comes home and does not have any appetite at all, which is sign number 3. She goes to bed, and my god, this is where it starts to get creepy. She dreams of herself becoming the monkey and being stared at from society. Everyone thinks she's a freak until a man picks her up and trains her to dance like a monkey. She starts dancing, and it's like she's hypnotized and obeying her master now, like she has no control at all and lost all abilities to be a human being. She then wakes up and gets a ring from Phoebe, only to show the 4th sign of monkey nucleosis, irritability. Helga turns to the book to see the next step is death. Helga tells Phoebe to bring all her friends over so that she could say goodbye to them. She's sad that her life is about to end and gives the book to Phoebe to return back to the library. Phoebe reads it and finds out that Helga is worried about the monkey nucleosis disease, which has been debunked for a long time now. Phoebe tells Helga that the only thing she can get is a rash at best, and told her that she's not going to die. It just shows how your mind can play tricks on you without the proper research. Number 1. Ghost Bride. Okay, this is probably the most messed up and creepiest episode of Hey Arnold. The episode takes place nearby a cemetery. Harold tells everyone to hurry up because he doesn't like walking near a cemetery. Stinky then states that we're all gonna end up at the cemetery someday. Then the episode segues into Sid mentioning about the tragic tale of the Ghost Bride. The gang wants Gerald to say the story, but Curly gets upset and says that he knows the story better. Gerald goes ahead and says the story anyways, and my god, I don't know how Nickelodeon let the producers put this in a kid show, but this is gruesome. The story is about a bride that is getting married to her beloved man, but he never showed up at the wedding. She gets upset and storms out of the wedding hall, only to find out the next day that her husband married her sister. She was furious, and the following night she went to her closet and took out her wedding dress, went to the basement and grabbed her axe. She walked the streets in her wedding dress to her sister's house with axe in hand. She opens the door and goes to her sister's room, sees them sleeping together. Then she takes the axe and freaking murders them. Yes, she freaking murders them in cold blood. The following morning, the cops arrive, only to find her sitting in a chair next to the corpses, humming the wedding march tune. The bride then jumps out of the window and takes her own life. She is buried at the cemetery, and the episode flashes back to the kids. Gerald gets an applause for telling a great story, but Curly mentions that he forgot that tonight was the anniversary of the murders. Everyone decides to come tonight at the graveyard to see if she will come out of her grave as the Ghost Bride, which is the stupidest idea ever. Helga wants to come along, but she is denied because it's just boys only. So Helga goes home and grabs a dress and plots to pretend being the Ghost Bride to scare the guys at the graveyard. The gang arrive and they realize that she isn't coming out of her grave, so they go back to the entrance, but the door is locked. Arnold suggests to go through the other side of the cemetery to find the next exit, but they see the Ghost Bride. Now they start panicking, but it's just Helga. But then Helga sees the Ghost Bride, and then she panics. Helga confesses to the gang that she pretended to be the Ghost Bride, but she warns them about the Ghost Bride that she saw. Then everyone sees the Ghost Bride and runs to the freaking crypt, which is already creepy by itself. They peek outside and see the Ghost Bride humming the wedding march tune. Arnold and Gerald decide to go after the ghost, and Arnold suspects something fishy about the costume. Arnold pulls off the mask, and it's Curly. Curly pretended to be the ghost because he didn't get to tell the story. So everyone is angry at Curly, so they tied him up and left him in the crypt. But Curly starts to hear the humming of the wedding march and assumes it's Helga, but it's not. It's just him alone in the cemetery.